Thank you. That concludes all of my questions. We will now open the proceedings up to questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question, please use the raised hand feature on your Zoom platform and identify yourself and your outlet when you are called upon. Questions for either Coach Woods or Coach Dixon? In that vein, Coach Woods, back to you really quick. You mentioned some of the other players that have stepped up in non-conference play. Two of the ones that come to mind for me are Mossy Staples and Jewel Watkins. Talk about their performances so far this season.
Yeah, man. Just I came into the season once we figured out, Jared wasn't going to play or Najee. I came in. I just met with both of them and said, "You got to take us to the promised land." And I'm so proud of those young women. Obviously, Jew didn't play a lot last year. She played as a freshman, played experiment, but we just sat in the corner. And then Maz played like a piece of it, but they're the whole, man. And I'm just happy with them stepping into a role that they're not comfortable with. And neither one of them were comfortable with, being the lead person. And they both had to for us to be competitive. And obviously, we don't do more victories at Coppin. We want to win. But if you watch us play and you've seen us play and you watch those two, they're rolling, man. And I'm just excited for them heading into conference. And what we got to do is maintain that level, though, that we've been playing at when we go into conference. So that's the goal, to try to keep them, at that level and try to exceed it. But both of those young women have been extraordinary for us. And I'm very happy with where we are, especially with those two.
Coach Dixon, who are some of your other standout performers so far this season?
Of course, Ninda Tart, who we've always been excited about from day one. Ninda's been solid in non-conference play. Of course, there's another level, another gear that Ninda can get to, and we're confident he will get there in conference play. Greg Spurlock, this is a guard, 6'4", sophomore point guard who missed the majority of non-conference, who we're super excited about. This is a young man that we felt like we had in the lineup. We would have won quite a few more games. So it's good to have Greg back. Just his intensity, his knowledge on the defensive end, and his ability to run the team offensively. Of course, Mike Hood, another senior, can really, fill it up on offensive end. Justin Steers, who's a fifth-year guy who's extremely familiar with what we do. Cameron Blue, who is a freak wing, who's learning our principles daily, who's continuing to get better. We look forward to Cam having a great conference season. And, I just want to continue for us to grow collectively as a unit. But I'm excited about our team overall.
One more question for me, and this is for both of you. Some of the caliber of competition that you've played in the non-conference portion of the season, what does that do for you now that the calendar is flipped to January and you're facing league competition?
I'll go first, Juan, if you don't mind.
Yeah, you go.
Juan and I talked about this. We talk about it all the time, and we talk about challenging ourselves daily and challenging each other. And the goal is to get through non-conference and be better than you started and healthy. We'll semi that. And that's the part about playing a schedule like we've both played, is that injuries come involved because you're traveling so much and you're playing a lot of games and you're playing against, more physical teams. And a lot of times the team is more talented. But at no point did we get outworked. And that's what I'm proud of for us. So the challenge is now is you play that level of competition, and now you compete at that level, and you can play at that level. Can you sustain it? And so that's the goal going into conference and playing a schedule like that, to play against all kind of offenses, defenses, caliber, talent, size, strength, speed, numbers, and then being able to sustain that in conference. So we'll see. Hopefully, I think the girls are ready, the women are ready. And I think they've been challenged, and I think they're ready to get in the conference play and compete.
Guys, that was well said. I agree with Coach Woods 100%. Going into the season, both the men and women's side wanted to challenge our student athletes, to be better. And I think we both feel like we competed non-conference. Like I said before, it is a grind. You deal with injuries. You deal with mental and physical fatigue. But I think both teams actually got better this non-conference. The women's team was super competitive. You look at the, majority of their games, it was down the stretch, it was overtime. And then on the men's side, we showed that we can compete with these Power 5, Power 6 teams. It's just a matter of the physicality just wears on you after a while. You just can't sustain it. But not saying that our conference is going to be any lighter, but we're matched in size, we're matched in athleticism and physicality. It just comes down to what team is going to compete the hardest and win it more. So I'm excited for both our men and women's basketball program, and I look forward to conference season.
Well said, Coach.
Stephen Gaither.
Hey, this is Stephen Gaither from HBCU Game Day. Coach Dixon, you guys have been there before. I think you said you tied the record for the non-conference wins, and I think you guys tied that again a couple years back. You've been there where you've won your division, and you've been there where it kind of has fallen off due to injuries at this time of the year. How much more depth do you feel like you guys have this year, to maybe be able to withstand some injuries versus last year? I know, you guys were hit hard with them in key elements, but how much deeper do you feel like this team is? And do you feel like this is the deepest team that you've had since you've been at Coppin?
I'm pretty confident that this is one of the deepest teams we've had. Now, we have some key guys down with injuries right now. Hopefully we can get those guys healthy very soon. But the goal is to make sure our guys, they're able to recover. Like I said before, the non-conference was a grind. It was a long couple months. I think our guys were ready for conference play a few weeks back, to be honest with you, but we kept competing. And the goal as a staff is when we have practice days, to have our guys compete, but be smart about our guys. And we had 2 great practices already this week. We took today off. We're going to come back Thursday and Friday, and hopefully we can perform well on Saturday against a very good South Carolina State team. But I'm confident we can stay healthy. We are deep. We have pieces that we are confident in. It's just a matter of us going out and competing and just, leaving it all out on the floor.
Keith Henry.
Here we go. Hello, coaches. As I'm sure you're aware, what happened on Monday Night Football with Damar Hamlin had a tremendous effect on the sports world. Have both of you been able to talk to your teams about what took place, and if you all did, how have you all been? How you all been coping with things like that?
Yeah, man, it's for me, I was glued to my TV. I was watching Monday Night Football when it happened, and I just, I was so shocked. My mouth was wide open the entire time. I have never witnessed anything like that in my 44 years on this earth. And to see that young man, just a routine tackle, but it get to where it is today is very unfortunate. And, I've had conversations with our guys about it, and, it's about guys taking care of themselves, but that's just something, a freak accident that almost never happened in football. And I've prayed that he makes a full recovery. And, I wish he and his family all the best, but it was sad. It was really sad to see. And I'm sure, he's strong. He's going to pull it through. But the goal is his health right now, not playing football. So hopefully he can get back to being 100% healthy.
Yeah, I agree with Coach Dixon on that. I haven't seen my team since we played in Ohio, since we got back. We took a few days off to get healthy, but we've texted about it, and a lot of them didn't see it. But it's not even just. It's just, for me, it's just the human aspect of it. Full recovery for that man, and I'm wishing him the best, praying for him and his family for sure.
Thank
All right,
you.
Coach Woods, Coach Dixon, thank you for your time this morning. Good luck as conference play gets started this weekend.
Thank you. Thank you.
Coppin State will be at
Thank
home
you.
this weekend for the first weekend of MEAC play. They will play host to South Carolina State on Saturday. The women's game will tip at 2 p.m., followed by the men's game at 4. And then they will host North Carolina Central on Monday, with the women's game tipping at 5:30 and the men at 7:30. As we continue the 2022-23 MEAC Basketball Coaches Biweekly Video Conference, we are now joined by head women's coach E.C. Hill and head men's coach Stan Waterman from Delaware State University. The Delaware State women are 2-9 so far on the season after winning back-to-back games in mid-November, while the Hornet men are 1-12 after a non-conference slate that featured plenty of Power 5 opponents. Good morning, coaches. Thank you for joining us this morning. How are you both doing?
Good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having us.
Thank you for being here. Coach Hill, we'll start with you. You mentioned in the preseason on this very platform about how young and how new your team was. What have you seen through the first 2 months of the campaign that gives you optimism entering conference play?
Well, we still haven't grown up quite as fast as I wanted us to, but it's a process. It takes time to win, even though the wins does not indicate how much we've come from last year. But I'm proud of what my team is doing, and they understand that it's a process. And what matters now is conference. What's in the past is in the past. As long as we get better and better each game, and we did. So we're looking forward to the conference play because preseason is over, and this was why you play those games in the preseason. So I'm excited with our improvement and that growth, and I'm trying to make sure we get ready for conference.
Coach Waterman, what do you hope to take away from how tough your non-conference schedule was as we're inching closer to league play?
Yeah, well, I would echo what Coach E.C. Hill just said, and trying to get our guys to maintain focus on the vision and understand that, yep, it's certainly a process. We put together a really challenging and difficult non-conference schedule that, featured the likes of Villanova and UConn and University of Delaware and Liberty, Longwood, Penn State, Virginia Tech, all NCAA tournament teams from a year ago. So now I was just running off the list of people that we had on it, and they were all NCAA. Yeah, so I'm just hoping, and we tried to divide the season in almost 3 segments: the non-conference to prepare us for conference play, which begins this weekend, and we feel pretty good about ourselves going in.
Coach Hill, who are some of the standout players that you've seen on this team so far this season?
Well, we have a couple. 3 players that stand out is Savannah Brooks, who's a freshman who's coming in and stepped up big time for us. And also I have Alexis Moraine, who's returning, a senior. She stepped up, and Tashawn Talley. So I call those 3 as our players that we lean on a lot, and they've been really, really well. Even though our stats doesn't indicate that I have anybody scoring a whole bunch of points, we try to do our thing collectively. But if I had to pick some individuals, those 3 ladies be the ones I pick.
Coach Waterman, same question to you. Who are some of your standout performers so far this season?
Much like EC, again, we're doing it by committee, and probably the most consistent performer we've had thus far this year has been Brandon Stone, the young man that transferred from Robert Morris. He's our leading scorer and our leading rebounder right now, and he's been our most consistent guy. I think Kyrie Staton, who is, I would say, is our most improved player, who missed most of last season after having shoulder surgery, has shown up and done some good things for us. And we've gotten a lot of good play from a freshman, Jevin Muniz, who's in a true freshman and has done some good work thus far.
Next question is for both of you. Delaware State will have success in conference play this season if we blank.
I would go first, Stan. If we just get better and better each day and work, and that starts in practice. You can't just hit a switch and think you're going to perform in the games. If you practice well, you practice hard, and you get better, then we can see results. So.
And I'd say the same thing. A little progress each day could end up with some big results for us. So we're striving to get better every day, to grow. And then certainly we've got to improve our defensive capability, our performance on what we've done so far.
Thank you, coaches. Those conclude all of my questions. We will now open it up to questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question, please click the raise hand feature on your Zoom platform and identify yourself as well as your outlet when you are called upon. Once again, soliciting media questions for Coach Hill and Coach Waterman. Okay, hearing none, coaches, thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for your time, and best of luck as conference play starts this season or this weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Good luck.
Delaware State will be on the road on Saturday to open conference play. They will be in Washington, D.C. for a MEAC doubleheader against Howard University. The women's game will tip off at 2 p.m. with the men's game following at 4. And then both teams will return to Memorial Hall Gym in Dover, Delaware on Monday for a doubleheader against Norfolk State, the women's game at 5:30 and the men's game at 7:30. Howard University head women's basketball coach Ty Grace and head men's basketball coach Kenny Blakeney are scheduled to join us at 10:33 a.m. So a little pause in the proceedings, and once both Howard coaches are on the call, we will continue our first MEAC Basketball Coaches Biweekly Video Conference of the 2022-2023 season.
Good morning, Jeff. Are you waiting exactly until 10:33?
No, once both you and Coach Blakeney are on, we can get started.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, thank you for your patience, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back as we continue the 2022-23 MEAC Basketball Coaches Biweekly Video Conference, our first one of the season. We now move to our nation's capital as we are now joined by Howard University head women's basketball coach Ty Grace and head men's basketball coach Kenny Blakeney. The Bison men are 7-9 on the season and enter MEAC play, having won 3 of their last 4 games. While the Howard women are the defending MEAC tournament champions, they sit at 4-9 on the season and they're coming off an impressive road win over VCU last week. Good morning, coaches. Thank you for joining us today. How y'all doing?
Good morning. Good. How are you? Happy New Year, Jeff.
Happy New Year. Glad to see you both. Coach Grace, we'll start with you. How do you think your non-conference schedules help prepare your team for a run at trying to repeat?
We always try to put together a non-conference schedule that's going to help us get better. We got plagued with some injuries pretty early on in November and haven't really recovered quite yet. But, we're going to keep on pushing. And hopefully the games we played, it has definitely helped us to get ready for this weekend.
Coach Blakeney, how high is your confidence level with your team, not just taking into account the amount of returning talent you have from last year, but the emergence of young talent, and speaking specifically of someone like Shai Odom?
Hello, Jeff, can you repeat your question again, please?
Sure. How confident are you about your team, not just with the returning talent from last season, but the emergence of young talent? I'm talking specifically about Shai Odom.
Yeah, I think we had a very challenging preseason, and it felt like we were playing games every other day. I don't know how many teams, have played 15 games up to this point, but I really feel that we weren't consistent and we hadn't gotten. It's really important for us to have an opportunity to practice and I think get better. I don't know what to expect, jumping into the MEAC, but I did not like our inconsistency in our non-conference schedule.
Coach Grace, is there a difference in playing as the hunted as opposed to the hunter now that you have the championship under your belt? Do you notice any difference in the competition level out there?
It's no difference for us. I mean, I try to plan and prepare the same way and then let our team know that we are the ones that people want to beat. But I feel like people are coming to compete no matter who they're going against. I don't think any team is looked at a regard of, not being somebody they want to beat. I think anybody that goes out is trying to compete and win the game. So obviously everybody definitely will feel differently when they beat us. But I don't take it as us being any different or anybody trying to compete differently.
Coach Blakeney, what's the single most important thing your program has to do to be successful in conference play?
Our leadership from our preseason first team all league guy, Elijah Hawkins. It's important that he runs our team and that he is a leader and a quarterback of our program.
Okay, coaches, those conclude all my questions for this morning. We will now open the floor up for questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question for either Coach Grace or Coach Blakeney, please use the raise hand feature on your Zoom platform and identify yourself and your outlet when doing so. We have a question from Stephen Gaither.
Good morning, coaches. First, this is for Coach Grace. Obviously you talk about the injuries and obviously that plays an impact, but just talk about, Destiny. Obviously she's had to put up some big numbers, and I'm sure those injuries have kind of maybe, pushed that a little bit, but just talk about how she's grown as a basketball player between this time last year and now, of course, heading into conference play.
Obviously the world hasn't known and maybe the conference hasn't known, but she's always been that type of player from the time I recruited her. It just took some time to progress and develop into what you probably see now. I mean, she's definitely been capable of what, you saw in a couple of games this season to do a lot. I'm just proud that she's able to see the success and, continue to help the team and develop as a player. It's really nice to watch, and I hope that she continues to have more games like she had this season.
And then as a follow-up, Coach Blakeney, you talk about Elijah and we mentioned Shy and the contributions he's made, but it seems like Mr. Settle is often the X factor for you guys. In the same vein, just talk about him. How he's grown, in your program and what it is you're expecting out of him as the conference season goes along, and how much he'll need to factor into whatever success you guys have.
That's a great question. He's an important part of our program, but when you kind of look at his path to where he started out in high school until now, he's only played a year and a half in the last 7 years. So it's really important for him to have great practices every day, for him to attack his individual workouts, and take care of himself beyond what he needs to do to show up just every day and practice and show up for games. So getting extra work, taking care of his body, making sure he's eating, making sure he's getting his rest, all of those things are huge factors. He's just learning how to become a good player. And, it takes time and it takes reps and it takes games. When you look at our team, we only have one guy that really has more than 1 year experience on our team. And that's, Kobe Dixon, who is a grad transfer from Cornell. Even when you look at Jelani Williams, a grad transfer from Penn, he's only got 1 season. So when you look at Steve, he's got 1 season. Jordan Wood, 1 season. Shaheem Odom doesn't even have a full season. Elijah has 1 season. Marcus Dockery this is his first time playing basketball in 3 years. You go down our roster and it's pretty much consistent with guys not having that kind of playing experience. So it's important for all of our guys right now to kind of lock in and really grind and try to get better.
Appreciate it, coaches. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Once again, to ask a question of Coach Grace or Coach Blakeney, please use the raise hand function on your Zoom platform. One last question for me, coaches, and this one is for both of you. Howard University will succeed in MEAC play this season if we do blank.
Don't turn the ball over and score more points than our opponent.
Coach Blakeney?
I agree with Coach Grace's words. Well said, Coach, and I agree 100%. It's valuing the ball, having great possessions on the offensive end and being efficient. And, for us in the past, it's been we've given up offensive rebounds and can we limit teams to 1 possession. So that's very important for us.
All right, coaches, thank you for your time this morning. Thank you for joining us. Best of luck this weekend and throughout the duration of conference play.
Thanks, Jeff. Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Howard University will be at home on Saturday, opening MEAC play at Byrne Gymnasium with a doubleheader against Delaware State. The women will tip off at 2, with the men tipping off at 4. And the Bison will then head to Princess Anne, Maryland to square off against Maryland Eastern Shore for a Monday double dip. The women's game will be at 5:30 p.m., with the men following at 7:30. Speaking of Maryland Eastern Shore, that's where we're heading now, over to Princess Anne, Maryland, where we are joined by head women's coach Fred Batchelor and head men's coach Jason Crafton from the University of Maryland Eastern Shore. The Hawk men are 7-7 on the season. They boast wins over the likes of Marist, Lehigh, Temple, and Columbia, while the UMES women are 4-10 and put up 100 points in their last outing this past Friday. Good morning, coaches. Thank you for joining us today. How y'all doing?
Good morning, Jeff. How you doing?
Doing
Jeff,
well, Coach. Good to see y'all again. Coach Batchelor, we'll start with you. What have you learned about your team throughout the first 2 months of the season?
I like them. They're very young. We're very young. That's the biggest thing you're going to hear me say over and over again. And as the season progresses, I'm hoping that we say that less and less because we have to mature very quickly, getting ready to go into league play. But they're a really good group of young kids that want to get better. I've enjoyed coaching them. And I think the sky's the limit for our development, and that's what I'm hoping to lead them to.
Coach Crafton, you have a lot of veteran talent on your roster, and you boast some impressive non-conference wins. Is there any reason to think the Hawks won't have a say in the conference race?
I think we got a competitive team. I think there's a lot of veteran teams in our league right now. It's a very transfer-driven league. We've got guys that have been here through COVID and have stuck with us. So I think that gives us a different look roster in terms of some of the guys that have been around. But we're not a proven team in MEAC play yet. So I think to just say to speak too fastly in that regard, we got to come out and we've got to show what we can do in conference and take it one game at a time. But I think our guys are excited about league play and striving to be in the conversation to be a team that can win the league.
Coach Batchelor, you talk about how young team your is, but then I look through some of your box scores and I see a lot of names that I've been seeing for the last couple of years. Talk about some of the veterans that you have on this program.
Well, and I kind of say young because, the year that we didn't play, we didn't have an opportunity to compete. And also the fact that 2 of my 3 seniors in the classroom both missed years prior to COVID due to injury. So I have 1 player that's entering their 3rd year of conference play. So I only have 1 kid on our roster that's basically a junior on the floor. Everyone else is freshmen and sophomores, although they've been around for a little while, like Maya Thomas. And she's playing huge. She's been really tough in the non-conference. She's getting better every day. She's understanding the value of leadership and how to have an impact on her team. And I'm looking forward to her leadership and her experience in helping us to develop and grow to being a tough competitive team in the league.
In that vein, Coach Crafton, there's a couple players on your roster that, I've been around the conference office for 6 years. It almost seems like they've been around as long as I have. I'm thinking specifically of Nathaniel Pollard. What does a player like him do for your program?
Well, Nathaniel Powell is only in his 3rd year here. The first year he came in was COVID, season got canceled, so he literally was just hanging out on campus. Then obviously last year and this year, our oldest elder statesman would be Sean Phillip and Kevon Boyles. They're in their 4th year here. 2 guys that are here from the original recruiting class, including Glenn Anderson. But Nate Pollard's been huge for us. He was an all-defensive player last year. He just plays both sides of the floor. He rebounds the basketball. He communicates defensively. He's a sneaky athlete, and he's just a great team player. So he's been a big part of the core of what we're trying to do. He gets it, great team player, and also a model student, a guy that's been on the dean's list since his arrival.
Final question for me, and this is for both of you. Maryland Eastern Shore will succeed in conference play if we do blank.
I'm gonna give it to the vet coach. Vet's person out there.
I'm gonna say, stay healthy and grow up. Those are the things that I think if we can stay healthy and continue to mature and grow the way we are, I think we're going to have a really successful year in MEAC play.
I would chime on that and say stay healthy and build off of some of the non-conference success and just keep getting better, not get stagnant. If we can build off of some of the good wins we've had against quality teams and stay healthy along the way and just keep getting better, not get complacent. I think we'll be, in the conversation to do everything we want to do, which is we do want to win the league. We want to be in that conversation, and we like to be there in the last weekend.
All right, coaches, those conclude all my questions. We'll now open it up for questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question for either Coach Batchelor or Coach Crafton, please use the raised hand feature on your Zoom platform and identify yourself and your organization when called upon. Our first question is from Stephen Gaither.
Morning, coaches. How are both of you guys doing today?
Steve, what's up, brother? Good to see you. Actually, can't see it. I see your name, but I can't see it. But yeah, I can see.
Gotcha, no worries. Yeah, I appreciate it. Congrats to both you guys for making it through the non-conference. I know it's a grind. Just talk to us. As you guys mentioned, you were the one team that's still in the conference that didn't play. That didn't play during the 2020-21 season. So last year was kind of like the first year, like a restart of your program almost. Just talk about maybe this year how having the entire just not necessarily starting back from behind versus maybe last year, obviously is one of the situations where you kind of restart where everybody else had a little bit of something to play the previous year.
Well, I think what was interesting, and I appreciate the tweet the other day. You put us in the conversation. Thanks, Steve. I appreciate that. But I think, and I was talking to Coach Batch about this in the fall. I think what was interesting was it was the first year when we didn't play. Obviously, last year was the excitement of playing again. And then this year, I think what we saw in the beginning of the year was like a different type of fatigue factor that started hitting in from like going a full calendar year after not going a full calendar year, spring, summer, fall, and things like that. So I think the biggest adjustment for us was really paying really mindful attention to their bodies and making sure we would load managing them well, with a balance of, recovery and things like that and extra stretching, because I think for the guys for our guys that hadn't played that year, 2 years ago, they were kind of getting smacked in the face with a full calendar year of activity again. And that was something that was interesting and something that we had to navigate through. So that was the biggest thing that stood out to me.
I think for us, it was, our theme for this year was reset. Last year we came back after COVID, after not playing, with 3 graduate seniors, really heavy with experience. And then they graduated and moved on. And it's been different for us. It was really different after a pause. Never experiencing it before, and it had a huge effect on us last year. And to not make excuses, it was just the reality of it. So right now, we just feel like it's in a program where we're resetting, starting all over again in a sense. But I like the foundation that those kids left us with, and I'm looking forward to getting back to playing consistently from one year to the next. And I think you're going to see some better basketball from Maryland Eastern Shore women's basketball, as well as the men, for the fact that we have gotten back into playing basketball.
Keith Henry.
Hello, coaches. Keith Henry, Sports. I'm sure you're aware about what went on Monday night for DeMar Hamlin. Have you been able to talk to your teams about the situation and how do you all feel about that situation as coaches?
Yeah, I think it's a dynamic situation that's scary, scary for all of us, to see something like that happen. Our players were actually talking about it yesterday. We're going to give a little update about it today after practice. And, we've just been sending prayers up and just, trying to be as supportive as we possibly can from afar. And also mindful about, these types of things that are awful occurrences and just praying for the families and things like that. That's what we've done in our program.
We were, as a staff, we were watching the game when it actually happened, and it just really made me realize how fragile the situation we are in as leaders of young people who are out pushing their bodies and exerting themselves to the highest level physically, and how sensitive that is, and how much we need to be prepared to deal with things that occur. I think the fact that they handled the situation the way that they did is a tribute to their policies and procedures. And it just really encouraged us to tighten up our mindset and our policies in regard to if anything were to happen to any of our kids under our care. So it's really just gave us more of a sense of an awareness, as well as being a Buffalonian. I'm definitely connected to it, and we want to keep them in the prayers. And we know this is sadly as it is, it's a part of life as well. And we just need to be prepared to do our best in our roles of responsibility.
Thank you.
One more question from my end, coaches, and this is for both of you. looking at the first weekend of conference play, you're pretty much getting thrown into the fire. You're facing teams that finished top 2 in the league in both the men and the women last year. You've got the defending men's champion in Norfolk State on Saturday and the defending women's champion Howard on Monday. Is it fair to say you're going to learn a lot about your team first weekend out?
Well, I have to laugh to keep from crying looking at our schedule. I mean, that's tough. You open up at Norfolk, who's playing the best basketball I've seen in league play in a long time, as in regard to non-conference. The wins that they've gotten and what they've done on the road, and the experience and the maturity of their team, we have our hands full. And then you turn around and have to play against the returning champion. So we want to grow. We want to grow. We want to get better. We want to use every opportunity to do so. But we got our hands full. And we kind of want to take it as I talk to my kids a lot about battles, and these are battles that we have to face in preparation for eventually for the war in March. So we hope to learn and grow from every experience and get better regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, I think we have the same thing on our side in terms of, going right into the East, playing the back-to-back champs in Norfolk on the road, playing a really good Howard basketball team that had a great season last year and is playing good basketball. I think our league right now is so tight. I mean, everybody's Norfolk clearly is ahead of everybody in terms of wins, but everybody else is like a game or few right next to each other. So, but I do think Norfolk has already shown in the non-conference that they'll likely win tonight. They'll be at 10 wins. They're very physical, very dominant, and then Howard's playing good basketball as well. So we've already told our kids we're gonna get a great look at where we are. We're excited about it. One's on the road, one's at home, and we'll be able to get to next week on Tuesday and be on this call and have a good idea of where we are.
All right, Coach Batchelor, Coach Crafton, thanks for joining us this morning. Thank you for your time. Good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Maryland Eastern Shore will be in Norfolk, Virginia on Saturday. They will open conference play with a doubleheader against Norfolk State. The women's game will tip at 2:00 with the men's game following at 4. And on Monday, they will return to Princess Anne, Maryland. They'll be at the Height Athletic Center for a twin bill against Howard. Women's game, at 5:30. Women's game at 7:30. Our next coaches to join will be Morgan State, the women's basketball coach Ed Davis, and the men's basketball coach Kevin Broadus. Once they join, we will resume the biweekly coaches video conference. In the meantime, once again, for information on the 2023 MEAC Basketball Tournament, which will be held March 8th through 11th at the Norfolk Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia, please visit meachoops.com. From there, you can find ticket information as well as historical information and a tournament schedule, as well as updated brackets. Any media interested in covering the 2023 MEAC Basketball Tournament, the credential application will go live within the next couple weeks. Once again, we are awaiting the Morgan State coaches, Ed Davis for the women and Kevin Broadus for the men. Once they join us, the first MEAC Basketball Coaches biweekly video conference of the season will resume.
Good morning, Jeff.
Morning, Coach. How are you?
Good, good. They told me to get on early.
Yeah, we're running a little ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I'm fine. That's fine.
Is Coach Davis with us?
I'm not sure because I'm not at school yet.
Okay, once Coach Davis comes on, we'll resume.
Coach Davis is here.
Morning, Coach. How you doing?
Not bad. A little traffic problem this morning.
I know that well. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We are now ready to resume our first MEAC Basketball Coaches Biweekly Video Conference of the 2022-23 season. We will now make our second virtual trip to Baltimore of the morning. We are now joined by the head women's basketball coach, Edward Davis Jr., and third-year head men's basketball coach at Kevin Broadus from Morgan State University. The Lady Bears went 7-6 in non-conference play, including a 6-0 start to the season, while the Morgan State men are 5-8 heading into the first weekend of conference play, and they have won 3 of their last 6 games. Thank you for joining us this morning, coaches. How y'all doing?
Not bad. How about yourself?
Doing pretty well. Hope everybody had a good holiday. Coach Davis, we'll start with you. As I mentioned, you went 6-0 to start the season. You enter league play above 500. What's your outlook now that we're on the cusp of conference play? Did we lose Coach Davis? All right, we'll work to get him back. In the meantime, Coach Broadus, we'll move over to you. What have you learned about your team through the first 2 weeks of this, for 2 months, excuse me, of the season?
We got a lot of resilience. We're starting to see, but until we get our whole a whole posse together. It remains to be seen. We still have like 3 more non-conference, even though we're going into conference play this week. But we look forward to conference play. I mean, the conference is really playing well. From my standpoint, all the teams have been playing well in every game for the most part, and just ready to gear up and go. We got a game tonight, and we got, I think, 2 more non-conference after we play the first 2. So we're just getting ready, for a tough road. It's going to be a tough road. I think the conference in whole has been playing well from top to bottom. So, we just hope to be, when the dust settles, up at the top with the rest of the guys.
We now have Coach Davis back with us, so I'll ask my first question to him again. Coach, I mentioned that you started the season 6-0. You were on a tear, and you enter conference play above 500. What have you learned about this team? What's your outlook for this team now that we're about to start conference play?
Well, for me, the biggest thing learning about this team was trying to establish an identity. For me, every team has to establish an identity. We're still not where I would like to be, regardless of who we played. We played like 4 or 5 Power Fives. And the whole thing going into that is just to see who we would be when we're playing against someone a little better. I'm hoping that, coming into the MEAC, that we can just match the intensity of the MEAC teams. And I try to tell my team, it's not about who we played. We're coming into the MEAC. Everybody in the MEAC plays harder than me than a lot of Power 5 teams. So you're going to have to match that intensity and understand that each game, each week, you go up or you go down, depending on where you want to be as far as the team and, what your objectives are. So, I'm hoping that prior to our first game, I have a little bit more of a grip on who we really want to be going into the, the first week.
Coach Broadus, you mentioned still missing a couple pieces, but of the players you have seen so far this year, who stands out to you? Obviously, Malik Miller had a standout performance his last game. He was Conference Player of the Week. But who have you seen throughout these first 2 months that you're excited about?
Isaiah Burke has been playing really well for us, and Lewis Jokum. Every game, someone steps up, and that's a good thing for us. We're just not relying on Malik. I mean, we got a good nucleus of guys, and hopefully, we bond together, and play smart and play hard through the MEAC conference. And we end up where we want to be. But right now, we're still trying to find out who we really are.
Coach Davis, when I mentioned that 6-game winning streak at the beginning of the season, another thing about that streak was you were at home for most, if not all, of those games, which is a rarity for a mid-major program. What did that do for your program to have so many home games that early in the season?
Well, it helped us, and it also helped the younger players. But fortunately for us, a lot of those were return games because we've been on the road for the last 2 years with some of these people with COVID. And it just worked out to the fact that most of these teams owed us that return game, and we were able to put it together on the schedule so that we could play at home first. But if you look on the backside of that too, after the home games, we ran into a buzzsaw of, 6 or 7 teams that were all Power Fives and some that weren't, including Davidson and Texas State, who, we played well, but, they were top upper level teams. So, I mean, I really love the fact we were able to get that start like that. But I think the kids were aware of what was going on the flip side of that too. How they had to play at a different level to try to kind of keep us going in that direction.
Coaches, the last question from me is for both of you, and Coach Davis, you can start. Morgan State will have success in conference play this season if we do blank.
Morgan State will have success in conference play if we understand the conference. Let me just say that, and understand that every team in the conference is going to play you. They're not going to lay down. They're not going to give you an advantage. They're looking to be at the top of the MEAC. And if we, for any reason, don't understand that, and that's one thing I preach to every team I've had from the time I came in the MEAC, if you don't understand where you are, who you're playing against, and these coaches are definitely great coaches looking to beat you along with their players. It doesn't matter what your record is. They're coming to play you every night. And if you don't match that intensity, you will be disappointing. So that's where I'm at.
Coach Broadus?
If we play smart, tough, and together for 40 minutes, we'll be where we want to be at the top of the league.
Thank you, coaches. That concludes all of my questions. We will now open up for questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question, please click your raise hand feature on your Zoom platform and identify yourself and your outlet when called upon. Our first question comes from Stephen Gaither.
Morning, coaches. Hope you guys are doing well. Coach Brodus, I wanted to see if there's a update on a young man on your team, David McCullough, Mr. McCullough, transferred from Bowie State. I see he played in November, hasn't played since then. What's his status as you guys move into conference play?
Slated to return tomorrow.
Okay, got you. Yeah, and talk about him. He's a guy who played at Bowie State and then has transferred up to you guys. Has had some solid games for you guys. Just talk about how he figures into you guys' scheme, as he gets back into the system.
Well, we got to bring him back slow. He's been out for about 2 months now. So see where he is when he gets back, and we'll go from there. He figures highly in our plans. He started for us when he was here. So hopefully he get his groove back early, and we go from there.
Right. And then as a follow-up, you guys, as you say, I know you got the game tonight, but you'll start conference play against North Carolina Central. Just talk about, facing them. Obviously, Lavelle's had a lot of success in the league. Just talk about, facing that team and early. They're right up there with Norfolk as a team that a lot of people are looking at in the conference. So just talk about matching up against them.
Well, Lavelle has a really, really good program. He's a really good coach, and we welcome the opportunity to open up. We'll see early where we are in the league. We will, see where we stand. They're a very good team, very good shooting team, very good defensive team. I mean, they're a good team. So, it's going to be a tough challenge. It's our first home game for a Division I opponent all year. So, we luckily to have it in our building. Hopefully we have people there, but we look forward to the challenge.
Keith Henry.
Good morning, coaches. As I'm sure you all are aware about what happened on Monday with Damar Hamlin, have you all been able to talk to your teams about what happened, about the situation, and how do you all feel about what went on?
Well, personally, I have not talked to my team about it because it's an individual, situation. It's unfortunate, and our prayers are with the young man, but that's a freak accident. Was nothing we can say or do that can change it. Our prayers are out for him, and we hope for fast and speedy recovery. We hope he makes it. I mean, it's tough. I mean, that's in a professional. How should I say this? That was in a professional arena, and it's football. We play basketball, and it's hard to speak out on something you're not involved in. But just our prayers are for him. But no, I have not talked to my team about
it. I haven't talked to my team about it, but my team is extremely aware of what's happened, what's going on. And also they understand the nature of the sport as compared to basketball, that at any given time in football, anything can happen. In basketball, the same thing can happen, so we just really try to make our kids understand the proper things as far as watching your health, things related to your heart, your cardio. If something's wrong, we need to know about it. You won't play, until you're cleared. So, but like Coach Brodus, we've just kind of touched upon it. We just haven't really, because it is another sport, but we try to relate it as it relates to individuals and family.
Luke Williams.
Hey, Coach Brothers, Luke Williams of the Black College Sports Page. I saw Malik had 28 and 9 against Hartford, had 6 steals. How important and how key is he to what you're trying to accomplish with the Bears this year?
Is that a serious question? I mean, shit, he was the heart and soul of our team. So, as he go, we go. And, we got good players around him, but for him to step up like that was big. I mean, his first half wasn't all that great, but he willed us to win in that game. And he's done it before. Hopefully he'll keep doing it. We got other guys around him. Hopefully will fall in place and do what they're supposed to do to help us be successful. But it was a beautiful thing to watch him, what he did the other night.
Are there any more questions for Coach Davis or Coach Broadus? Coaches, thank you for your time this morning and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Morgan State will be at home for the first weekend of MEAC play at the Talmadge Hill Fieldhouse. They'll play host to North Carolina Central on Saturday. Women tip off at 2 p.m. The men will follow at 4 p.m. And on Monday, they will play host to South Carolina State. The women's game will tip off at 5:30, with the men following at 7:30. The next coaches scheduled to join us for the first bi-weekly coaches video conference of the season will be Larry Vickers and Robert Jones of Norfolk State. Once those two coaches are on, we will resume the video conference. Once again, for more information on the 2023 MEAC Basketball Tournament, March 8th through 11th at the Norfolk Scope Arena in Norfolk, Virginia, please visit meachhoops.com. Updated brackets, tournament schedule, ticket information, buy tickets, and the media credential request link will go live within the next couple of weeks. Also, ladies and gentlemen, the 2023 MEAC men's basketball ESPN schedule within the next couple of weeks. Our first ESPNU contest of the season will be on Monday, January 23rd. Norfolk State at Morgan State. That'll be a 7:30 p.m. tip on ESPNU. Then on Saturday, January 28th at 6 p.m. on ESPNU, we'll have North Carolina Central at Howard. 2 nights later, Monday, January 30th, 7 p.m. on ESPNU, North Carolina Central at Norfolk State. And then the final MEAC men's basketball ESPN broadcast of the regular season will be Thursday, March 2nd, 9 p.m. on ESPNU, Norfolk State at Howard. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We will now resume the first MEAC Basketball Coaches Biweekly Video Conference of the season. With the trip a little closer to home now, we are now joined by Norfolk State University head women's coach Larry Vickers and head men's coach Robert Jones. Both programs are a combined 21-8 heading into this weekend's action. The defending MEAC champion Spartan men are 9-5, boast wins over Monmouth, Alabama A&M, William and Mary, Bowling Green, Hampton, and North Carolina A&T, while the Norfolk State women boast the MEAC's best record at 12-3, and at one point had won 8 games in a row this season. Morning, coaches. Thank you for joining us. How y'all doing?
Good morning. How you doing?
Pretty good. Coach Vickers, we'll start with you. What's been the biggest key to your team's success so far this season, and how do you continue that going into MEAC play?
Oh.
Is Coach Vickers with us?
Yeah, he's right. Look, he's right there.
Okay, I see him now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't really hear you, Jeff. I was trying to move to a different part of the house. You said, what's the biggest difference, or?
What's the biggest key to your success so far this season, and how do you continue that into conference play?
Well, I think balance. Balance has probably been our biggest key so far this year. We've won basketball games a lot of different ways. We've had different leading scorers a bunch of different times. So, that's kind of been our recipes for success this year, and we hope that kind of moves on to conference play.
Coach Jones, you heard me read off your team's resume so far this season. What's your biggest takeaway with this team now that we flipped over into January in MEAC play?
We're still trying to find ourselves in a sense. I know we might have the best record currently on the men's side, but it's been a struggle trying to find ourselves. Still trying to find where we are because we have 5 losses, but 3 of those was the top 10 teams in the country, and then the other 2, was games that we probably should have still won. So still trying to find out who we are, and I know that might sound funny with 12 guys returning, but that's been a different kind of situation in itself. So, we're still trying to figure out where we are. And I think this weekend will give us a good test and see where we stand compared to the other MEAC schools.
Coach Vickers, you talked about balance. There are a lot of familiar names on your roster, but there's also some new names that are showing up. Kiera Wheeler specifically. So talk about some of the standout performers you've had the first couple months of the season.
Well, Kiera, she's won MEAC Player of the Week, I believe, 3 times. And, she gives us something that we didn't have last year at all in a post presence. She is a true 5 in every sense of the word, but she has a really good skill set. So, she relieves a lot of pressure off of Deja and Camille and Mahogany and McCoy and Naya. So, it's just good having somebody who can throw the ball inside too, who shoots over 60% and just kind of get us something close around the rim.
Coach Jones, you mentioned the schedule. I'm thinking 3 teams in particular. You were at UCLA. You played Houston when they were the #1 team in the country. What do games like that do for your program, especially now that we're in January, February, going into March?
At one point in the season, we had the number 5 ranked schedule as far as net wise in the country. And it's because of those 3 teams. You can't get any better than those 3 teams in a sense, right? But I just think that hopefully it bodes well for us because now we done seen the cream of the crop of the country. And like especially the Baylor game, that was a game that we was in the whole game pretty much. So hopefully that translates into conference play. I know the MEAC conference this year, I've been watching some teams, and there's been a lot of teams getting non-conference wins this year, and it's going to be a battle. Even some of those games that you ran off, like right now we're 4-0 against the CAA, but I tell my guys that I think some of the teams in the MEAC are better than the teams that we beat already non-conference wise. So we have to be ready to play day in and day out. And of course, that bullseye on your back after being back-to-back champions is going to be at the 3rd degree.
My last question is for both of you, and Coach Vickers, you can start. Norfolk State will be successful in the MEAC this season if we blank.
Rebound. We have to rebound the basketball. Everything else, we've kind of done well the last few years, but we have to be able to rebound with the top of our league.
Coach Jones?
Norfolk State men's basketball will be successful this year if we don't rest on the laurels of the last 2 years. And I think that sometimes with these guys, but especially with the continuity that we have, it's easy to begin to become complacent. All these guys are young men; they still trying to figure it out in life. So, for us not to be complacent and have the hunger that we need to try to go for a magical, three-peat.
Thank you, coaches. That concludes all of my questions. We will now open it up for questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question, please use the raise hand feature on your Zoom platform and identify yourself and your outlet. First question comes from Stephen Gaither.
Good morning, coaches. Start off with Coach Vickers. Obviously, impressive non-conference, performance from you guys. It's something that's, you guys have been building as a program, picking these non-conference wins up, here and there, and it's really bubbled over this year. Just talk about, for you guys, you guys got to share the title last year, I believe, in the regular season, and then made it to the end in the MEAC tournament. Just talk about, putting it all together this year and why you feel like, if everything bounces your way, you guys are more equipped to really have a magical season for you guys this year.
Well, I think every time we've kind of made it to the top of the league, we've lost that core. So this year, the difference with us has been continuity. We returned 5 out of 5 starters. I call Mo our 6th starter, Mahogany Williams. She was 2nd team all conference. She comes off the bench for us. So, that continuity really helped. And you talked about, we had the year with Shanette and LaDeja, and then they left, and then it was COVID. And then we had another year we went to the championship game with Khadijah Croker and Raven Russell, and then they left. So, excuse me, been under the weather a little bit, but that continuity for us has really been the difference in what you see in non-conference. We're not really trying to figure it out. I call it set. Everybody kind of knows how it's ran. So that's been really, really helpful for us.
And then thank you. And then for Coach Jones, obviously, as you said, you guys have a lot of guys back, but a little bit of different roles. Talk about, obviously there's Joe and there's Chris up front, but finding that third scorer, it's been Christian some nights, it's been Dana some nights. Just talk about and Kaheem Brown as well. Just talk about finding that maybe that third wheel scoring wise that'll be consistent for you guys, or do you prefer to be able to have a couple guys that may be at one night and then another night it's another guy?
Well, I mean, I think that right now we do have 4 double-digit scorers. We have Joe, which leads the pack, Bankston, which is second. Kaheem Brown is double digits, and Christian Ames is double digits. So, and be honest with you, if Dana Tate would play, would have had a better first half of the year, he would be double digits too. So we would probably have 5 double-digit scorers. So, I mean, when you got that kind of balance, that usually bodes well for you, because now it's hard to key in on like Joe Bryan or hard to key in on Bankston when you got 3 other guys that can get double digits at any given point. So, we're hoping that Dana keeps turning the corner right now to give us that 5th double-digit scorer. So, to really have the balance that we want. Like I said, the biggest thing for us has just been the mental part of it, because a lot of people, even though you said we're in different roles, really a lot of people are in the same roles. To be honest with you, like it's just understanding and mentally the challenge that's ahead and not getting complacent at different things. So that's been our challenge. I know a lot of people think that 12 guys coming back is such a great thing, and for me, I'll tell you as a coach that's going through that right now, it's a good thing, but also it's a battle too of trying to figure out complacency a little bit.
And lastly, you talk on that end, you guys will open up conference play with Maryland Eastern Shore, a program that has kind of been in the wings of the MEAC, but they've got some non-conference wins. Just talk about again, keeping that intensity up against a team that not that could be easy to overlook because of some of the success you guys have had.
I think that what Eastern Shore is this year is not easy to overlook them. They're the hottest team coming into the MEAC play. They're on a 4-game win streak. No one else in the conference on a 4-game win streak. And currently I know there's a couple of teams that play tonight and things like that. That right now I think it's just us and them that have a 500 or better overall record. So it's not easy to overlook them this year. Actually, they're very firmly on the radar. So I think our guys will be fired up. And like you said, they've had a pretty good season so far. I see Coach Crafton got his 70th win last night or whatever he put out there. So it's like, he's able to, it should be a game that, we're not overlooking at all. And I think our guys will be fired up to play them.
Appreciate it, coaches.
Thanks.
All right, Coach Vickers, Coach Jones, thank you for joining us this morning. Thank you for your time and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Norfolk State will welcome Maryland Eastern Shore to Eccles Hall on Saturday for the opening MEAC doubleheader of 2023. Women's game will tip at 2, followed by the men's game at 4. And then on Monday, they will hit the road for a pair of games against Delaware State. Women's game at 5:30, men's game at 7:30. We will now head down to Durham, North Carolina, as we are now joined by North Carolina Central University head women's coach Tricia Stafford Odom and head men's coach Lavelle Moten. The Eagle men are 6-7 on the season, having just defeated the Citadel 81-74 before last night's home victory. They are undefeated at home this season, while the Eagle women are 5-9 and have won 2 of their last 4 games. Morning, coaches. Thank you for joining us today. How y'all doing?
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, Jeff. How you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for joining us, coaches. Coach Stafford Odom, we'll start with you. I'm looking at what you've done in non-conference play, and 2 names that stand out to me are Kamara Burks and Journey Kiaku. Talk about their emergence and what you expect from them and from your team as we go into league play.
You pointed out a good 2. The expectations are definitely high for both Burks and Kiaku. Kiaku, I call her my baby. You know, I'm a high school kid on the roster. She's been consistent in her effort. She's been consistent in how hard she plays, and the results are showing daily. She's a scoring guard who's made the adjustment of being able to play the wing, attacking from the top, handling the offense, and we're working on some defensive schemes to make her more effective. But she's definitely a pleasure to have on our roster. Burks is a complete player. What has probably stood out is the fact that she can shoot the ball from anywhere on the floor, but she's also got an IQ that has elevated our team. So we're very excited for both of them and what they have in store. I expect them to be consistent in what they've been doing preseason and actually take it up another level come conference.
Coach Moten, I mentioned your team's record this year and the fact that you're undefeated at home. With those 2 things in mind, what's the outlook for your team now that we flipped over to January and we're getting ready to start conference play?
Well, obviously, you got to find comfort in discomfort. We've had some road games where we just didn't finish the job, and I probably scheduled a bit too hard. But I believe in throwing our guys in the fire, so you'll know right away what you have. And we had a good App State team on the ropes, up 8 with 4 minutes, didn't finish it. Same thing with Gardner Webb and Radford. So our emphasis, has been finishing, and we got to be able to understand that, when we go in hostile environments or different arenas, you're not going to get the favor. You're not going to get this necessary call. And even though the deck may seem stacked against you, you got to find a way and figure it out. That's what conference play has been and will always be about. So, we're excited and approaching this challenge. It lies ahead. We understand it's monumental, but we feel confident that we can get it done.
Coach Stafford Odom, looking at your non-conference results, to one of the more impressive stretches that I could see was when you beat Appalachian State and Western Carolina back to back, and that App State game in particular. What do games like that teach you as you progress throughout the season?
It actually instills confidence in me. Sometimes we go through phases as coaches where we might begin to try to change up what we know we've stood on, but it gave me basically it validated that I know when we play hard and when my players do what's asked of them, and we play relentless basketball, we're capable of being victorious. So just confirmation for me, as if I needed any. Kids tend to buy in when they see success. Coaching staff is working a little bit harder, and it just makes our vision more realistic.
Coach Moten, who have been some of your standout performers so far this season? Obviously, you've got Justin Wright, who's a preseason first teamer, but who else has impressed you over the first couple months?
It depends on what day or what game you ask me that. We had a variety of guys, and we've kind of done it by committee. Obviously, Justin has risen to the occasion. We need a little more consistent play out of our post guys. Brandon Medley-Bacon, Chris Monroe, Dan Oladapo. Dan has since hit his stride, so it seems. He had a double-double last night. And, he's getting comfortable and understanding who we are, what we're about, and how we do things.
Marquis Mosby has been our best perimeter defender. And, it was a challenge for me to try to find a rotation because the reality is I didn't know some of these guys and I hadn't been in competitive arenas with these guys to actually know who they are. So it was all an experiment, to say the least, for the first month of the season. And now we're settling in on a rotation, we're defining roles a little clearer. So I would say Justin Wright, Eric Boone, he's been through a lot. We expected him to be much better defensively on that side of the ball. And Chris Monroe, he has to do a better job. He didn't have the first semester that we thought he was capable of having, but we're confident that he will pick it up in the second half.
My last question is for both of you, and Coach Stafford Odom, we'll start with you on this. North Carolina Central will be successful in MEAC play if blank.
Supposed to give me the cheat notes on that before we get on this call, Jeff. But if we rebound, if we figure out the key to being a competitive rebounding team, because of our lack of size, we won't dominate rebounds, but we have to be wise rebounders, meaning on the offensive side, not giving up transition baskets. And if we continue to take care of the ball and not turn it over, we'll definitely be successful.
Coach Moten?
I'll repeat that again. North Carolina Central will be
successful in MEAC play if fill in the blank.
We defend at a high level, rebound at a high level, and take care of the basketball.
Thank you, coaches. That concludes all of my questions. We will now open it up for questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question, please use the raised hand feature and identify yourself and your outlet when called upon. Our first question comes from Luke Williams.
Hi, this is for Coach Moten. How you doing, Coach?
Luke, happy New Year, my man. How you doing?
Same to you. Medley Bacon. What's been the challenge in terms of getting him involved to the degree that you'd like to have him involved? And is it more on the defensive end that you've not gotten as much as you'd like, or on the offensive end?
To be honest, it's it's both. Luke, to be honest with you, I think 7-footers, and I don't know what it's like to be 7-footers, but I just think they get a bad rep because they're expected to dominate everything that they do. And he's such an incredible kid, a beautiful soul, a beautiful spirit, that you want him to turn that off when he get onto the floor, right? You don't need you being a great human being all the time on the floor. Be a respectable one, but be a highly competitive one. And, our main thing is just his motor, just getting him to play hard to the best of his ability and go out with the mindset to dominate. And, that's been the challenge. That was the challenge when we recruited him. And he's trying to buy in, but, sometimes you got to take him to the side and give him some fiery words before he lights the fire within himself. He's been solid, but again, when you're 7 feet, that's the injustice of it all, because you can look at your numbers and your stat line and say, okay, he did his job, but there was always more juice in the orange that we could get out of, right? And so that's what we're trying to get him to exhaust all of his energy, all of his effort, and just be completely dominant. And the way to do that is just to be completely active. He gets lazy at times, and but we're trying to take care of that.
Being 7-7, I think you are. Is this as good a pre-January that you had in a while?
We always schedule tough, and then obviously the money games, you got to play 5 of those, so you calculate that in. So it falls where it falls. I thought we should very well be 10-3, 10-4, something around that mark. Again, we let some get away on the road. We had a good Virginia team down 2 with 7-8 minutes left. Same thing at LSU. Gardner-Webb, Radford, and I'm sure I'm missing somebody. Gardner-Webb, App State, right? So those are games we just let get away, but we got to utilize those things as learning lessons. And we're happy to be where we are. It's starting over, because at the end of the day, it doesn't even really matter what you do in the preseason or the non-conference. You know, the conference is a different beast, right? And now you got pep bands and people shouting some things at you that you can never imagine when you go into opposing team's gym. So it requires you to be, you know, even more mentally tough, you know, as you approach this thing. And so I'm looking forward to it, to the battle with our guys.
Starting on the road with that trip up to Baltimore, how difficult is that?
Oh, it's always a difficult trip, right? And, you know, amplified because we got NCCU on our chest. So we understand the magnitude. I've been doing this for quite a while. The teams that you see on tape is not the team that you ultimately play against. They dive a little harder. They play a little harder. They dive in the stands. And I was like, hey, you ain't do more. But we understand that. We understand the respectability. We got some great programs that we're going to play this weekend in Morgan and Coppin, and they got some great coaches. And so we definitely got our work cut out for us.
Good luck, Coach. Thanks.
Thank you.
Stephen Gaither, did you have a question?
Yeah, I did. Luke took mine, but so I won't prolong it.
All right, Coach Stafford Odom, Coach Moten, thank you for joining us this morning, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you very much. Luck to all.
Steve, Happy New Year, my man.
Happy New Year to you too as well, Coach. Enjoy, and we'll see you down the road.
All right, boss. Take care.
North Carolina Central will hit the road for the first weekend of MEAC play. They will head to Morgan State on Saturday for a doubleheader. Women's game will tip off at 2 p.m. with the men's game following at 4. And then the Eagles will be at Coppin State on Monday. The women's game will be at 5:30 with the men's game following at 7:30. To wrap things up today, we now head down to Orangeburg, South Carolina, where we are joined by our final coaches of the day, head women's coach Tim Eatman and head men's coach Eric Martin of South Carolina State University. Both coaches are in their respective first seasons in Orangeburg. Good morning, coaches. Thank you for joining us today. How y'all doing?
Good morning. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you all as well. Coach Eatman, we'll start with you. The results haven't been there yet this season, but what are some of the highlights of the first 2 months, and what have you learned about your team?
Well, I'm still trying to learn our team because of the fact of roster management. We haven't been consistent with the players on our team throughout the year. So I'm learning that we have a resilience on the team, and the kids don't complain. They are workers. They want to continue to work every day. So as long as they continue to show up every day and try to get better, that's been the biggest thing that I've been really appreciative about.
Coach Martin, how would you describe the first 2 months of the season for you?
We were road warriors. As I tell everyone, I knew what the schedule was like before I ever took the job. But as I also said to my team, hey, after those 11 games, we at least know what we have. And we got a big win at East Carolina. We were able to get a win at home versus Samford. But similar to Coach Eatman, we've had injuries, we've had issues that really you can't plan for. But I think I like my team. I like them more when they share the ball. I tell them all the time, if you dribble more than your pass, you're a selfish player. And with selfish players, we can't be everything we want to be. But being on the road was good. It was really good. I'm from West Virginia, so I'm used to traveling in private planes. So those bus rides kind of wore me out, but I love it. I love it. I love being with my team. I love watching movies, just having conversation that you make those 5-6 hour drives. And I really enjoyed it. Hopefully, all that road work will benefit us moving down the road.
Coach Eatman, one of the highlights of your season so far has been lovely Sonia. I hope I'm saying that name right. And I know she practically willed y'all to that win over UNC Greensboro, and she's had several standout performances. Talk about what you see in her.
Well, first of all, she has a chance to be a really, really good basketball player. Her attention to details is really good, but the thing that we need her to improve upon is her effort at all times, both on the offensive end and on the defensive end. And if we can get her to play at a higher level in MEAC play, then we have a chance to be consistent. I shared it with the team in our huddles, is that she has to average 20 points a game for us, and for us to have an opportunity to win basketball games. And so I hope that she's willing to step up to the challenge, and I'm hoping that she's willing to continue to get better each day. But if she would learn how to work hard consistently all the time, she has a chance to be a really good basketball player.
Coach Martin, you mentioned those wins against East Carolina and Samford. What lessons can you take from those two victories that hopefully propel you over the next 2 months?
That coaches coach and players win games. And what I mean by that is I can drop all the plays I want. It's the Rashawn Edwards, the Rakeem Garys, the LaShawn Hallams. It's those guys that actually have to make the shots and make the plays. So there are at least 2 losses on our schedule that are 100% Coach Martin's fault. I take blame for those. I think we had I won't say the team, well, I might as well, Upstate and North Florida. We had those teams beat. And I don't know if it's because I'm new, I'm a first-time coach. Maybe I tried to do too much. Maybe I tried to get away from what was working. But those were learning processes for me. And I hate that I those 2 wins we left out on the table. But as I told the team, hey, I'm learning you guys and you guys are learning me. And it's a process. So I feel I got better by watching those films. Those films are hard to watch afterwards when you lose games that you think you have those games won. So I'm getting better just like my team is getting better. And we're glad to be getting into the MEAC this weekend and done having to play the Kentucky's, Wake Forest, and Western Kentucky's on the road. So we're looking forward to MEAC play.
My last question is for both coaches, and Coach Eaton, we'll start with you. South Carolina State will succeed in the MEAC this season if fill in the blank.
We can have a consistent roster. That's at the end of the day, if you don't have a consistent roster, you can't develop continuity and you can't develop momentum. So we hope that right now we have 5 kids that's out with COVID, 2 coaches out with COVID. So we're hoping that, at some point in time during the year, that we can have a consistent roster that when I look at who's on the roster, that I'm not guessing and not asking the trainer who can play and who can't play. If we can have a consistent roster, then we can develop some consistency and we can develop some momentum. And if we can do that, then we can have some success.
Coach Martin?
If we pass the ball, I think our team is so much better when we pass the ball, because then everybody now is engaged. And it seems like when everybody gets to touch it and take shots, they play defense. They're a little more engaged on the defensive end. So if we just pass the ball, I don't have a problem with guys dribbling it, but I've always said straight line drive it, man. To dribble the ball 3 or 4 times and still be in the same spot you started when you started dribbling, that's bad basketball. So if we pass the ball, I feel like we'll have a good season.
Thank you, coaches. That concludes all my questions. We'll now open it up for questions from the media. Once again, if you have a question, please click on the raise hand feature on your Zoom platform and state your name and outlet when called upon. First question comes from Luke Williams.
Hi, Luke Williams of the Black College Sports Page. This was a question for both coaches, but I think Coach Eatman pretty much answered it. So I'm going to direct it to Coach Martin. You got a relatively young team. I don't think you have any seniors on the team. But how were you able to put together the team that you have? How many guys did you bring in after you got the job?
I had to bring in 9. I think I'm fortunate here because we have probably, I don't know about everyone else's roster, we probably have the most walk-on minutes played. My starting front court are all walk-ons: Dallas James, Raquan Brown, and Davion Everett. And part of that is we've had roster management issues, but I truly believe when someone gets hurt or someone goes down for whatever reason, next man up. Here's your opportunity to play. And I'm one of those people, I don't care if you're on scholarship or walk-on. If you're doing what I ask you to do, I'll play you. I'll play you.
I wanted to preface my comments by saying welcome to the MEAC. You talked about catching buses. And what's that like after you've been riding those private planes up at West Virginia? How has the adjustment been?
Oh, it's good. And although I'm coming from West Virginia, I played junior college and coached junior college. So I'm used to those bus rides. I was just 25 years younger back then. And so my body holds up held up a little bit better back then. But hey, I think every arena that I've gone to in that 11-game road streak we started off, I've never been there in my basketball playing or coaching career. So got to see a different part of the country, got to see a different arena. So it was good. I won't schedule 11 straight on the road next year. I guarantee you that, but it was good. It was good for me and it was good for my team.
Of the 9 that you brought in, how many of them were a freshman, or how many of them already had some college experience?
3 freshmen. One of the freshmen got hurt and he's redshirting this year. And the other 9, the other 7, one is a transfer portal kid, and then everyone else is either a JUCO transfer or let me think. Yeah. I got 1 transfer portal, everyone else is juke.
And when you say walk on, are these guys that you were familiar with? That you
No, they were on the team from last year.
Okay. Okay.
So, but they are competitors, and man, I wish you could give out more than 13 scholarships, because some of those guys deserve a scholarship, and maybe we'll revisit that next year. But I've been blessed with these walk-ons. They are always in the gym, always working on their game, and I feel comfortable playing those guys. I mean, they're invested in what they're doing, and I sleep better at night when you play a guy who you know, hey, it matters to this guy, and at the end of the day, that creates depth. I don't think my top 5 is better than anyone's top 5 in our league. I think my top 12, I think we can compete if I can get 12 guys in the game.
It's a great attitude, Coach. Good luck. I also ask Coach Eatman a similar kind of question in terms of how many did you have to bring in, Coach?
Unfortunately, I wasn't able to bring in.
And I also want to welcome you to the MEAC. I think you probably caught a few private planes also during your time elsewhere. But welcome to the MEAC. But what's it been like to put your team together? How many new folks did you bring? How many freshmen? How many with college experience?
Well, we was only able to bring in 1 player. Our roster was who it is right now, and that was already developed by the former staff. So the roster was in place.
And what is that? Does that handicap you for the future in terms of only being able to bring in 1, or does it just create better opportunities going forward?
Well, I never look at anything like as a handicap. What I do realize is that we're actually getting familiar with our players. And that's why I keep saying that we need to develop some consistency and develop some momentum, because by the time you get comfortable, for example, this last game, we was able to throw the ball on the inside and get a lot of baskets in the 3rd and 4th quarter against Furman. And then all of a sudden you write your practice out to throw the ball on the inside and make sure we get more touches to our inside players. And then all of a sudden you have COVID and one of the inside players is out. So you just can't develop that consistency where you want to get that momentum to keep going. But that's the challenge that's in front of us. We embrace the challenge and we're going to continue to get better. The good thing about, like I said earlier, the good thing about our players is that their spirits are good. They come to the gym every day and ready to work, and they want to get better. So even though we're dealing with the inconsistency, the consistency has been that they all show up ready to go the next day in practice.
And let me just, last question, this is kind of for both of you guys, because I know COVID ebbs and flows, it surges, then it appears to be gone and comes back. How much is it continuing to be? And obviously for you, Coach Eaton, if you're saying you got 4 or 5 of your players out, it's obviously, but is it something that is continuing to be on the radar for you guys? And what can be done maybe to try to minimize it?
I think it's just our society right now. I mean, it's just what it is. Like, for example, I got my last booster on 2 days ago, but that still doesn't keep you from getting COVID. So we have to just teach our players and just talk to our players about making good decisions when they go back to their dorm room, and make sure they're understanding who they're hanging out with and who they're sharing time with, and just recognize we have a basketball season that we have to get better with. And because we have a basketball season and you have more at stake than some of the average students, you just need to be a little bit more careful about how you approach things. But overall, it's just what we deal with in our society right now.
Coach Martin, have you had any COVID related situations?
We did, but it was early in the fall, and it's only 2 teams on campus now: men's basketball and women's basketball. And guys, sometimes we're going to flock to those that are around. And I've tried to tell them to be careful, but they're young kids, and I just tell them, hey, just be careful, be careful. You know, as Coach said, watch who you're hanging out with. And you know, I know coaches, he and I have spoke the last few days about his situation, and I've tried to say to my kids, hey, fellas, you might want to give some space if you're hanging out with some of those players, just so they can get healthy. And we want to stay healthy. So you just try and you let your team know, communicate with them, hey, this is where we're at right now. Doesn't always have to be like this, but right now you probably need to just kind of hang out with each other until things kind of cool down, not only on our campus, but as Coach said, in society.
Thanks, coaches, both of you. Good luck. Look forward to seeing you guys on the road.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Eatman, Coach Martin, thanks for joining us this morning, and good luck this weekend.
Thank
you, Jeff.
Thanks for having me.
Have a great day.
You too.
You too. South Carolina State will hit the road for the first MEAC weekend of the season. They will head to Coppin State on Saturday for a doubleheader. The women's game starting at 2, the men following at 4. And then they will go to the Talmadge Hill Fieldhouse on Monday to take on Morgan State. Women's game at 5:30, men's game at 7:30. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the first MEAC Basketball Coaches Bi-Weekly Video Conference of the season. Our next video conference will be on 10 a.m. Wednesday, January 18th. Before we end the call, the MEAC would like to thank its corporate partners, including the National Football League, ESPN, Coca-Cola, Cricket, Jostens, Town Bank, Geico, and Nike. As a reminder, this video conference, was streamed live on our YouTube channel and will be archived there as such for access after we all sign off. As always, for up-to-date news on MEAC men's and women's basketball and our other sponsored sports, log on to meacsports.com. For more information on the 2023 MEAC basketball tournament, please visit meachoops.com. You can also follow the MEAC on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at MEAC Sports, and follow the MEAC Digital Network on YouTube. We want to thank our head coaches and each institution sports information office for assisting us on this morning's call, and for the media who was in attendance and asked questions. We thank you for joining the 2022-23 MEAC Basketball Coaches Bi-Weekly Video Conference. We will see you in 2 weeks on Wednesday, January 18th at 10 a.m. We hope you have a great rest of your week.